I'm aware that many people have spoke about this already, but quite frankly I could not hold my silence on this topic. Haha, see what I did there? The progressive left are still reeling after Cathy Newman was intellectually dismantled by Jordan B. Peterson during his interview on Channel 4 News last month. And this interview showed why the far left are terrified of Jordan Peterson. He is the scourge of their failed ideology. And as his influence grows, the progressive grip on the narrative becomes ever more loose. I hold this man in such high esteem that you can tell me I am part of the Jordan Peterson dick-riding bandwagon. I would nod along and agree with you 100%. This man is going to go down in history, mark my words, I am not exaggerating. And if radical leftists cannot beat him, they'll smear him. Mick.com's Jack Smith IV has embarked on a smear campaign against the great man.
I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run.
This is the far-right's new philosopher superstar.
First things first, get a clip of Jordan being uncompromising and get a few images of him looking very angry. And then label him as a darling of the far right. This is Jack's plan to try and paint him in a bad light to anyone who's never heard of him before.
And when he thinks of the plight of men in America, it brings him to tears.
Every time the topic comes up, it breaks me up because it's so damn sad.
And what's the problem with that? Good for Jordan. This counts him on his many merits. I know that you, Jack, could not care less about problems that other men have in America. You have an I'm alright Jack mentality. Yes, pun fucking intended.
He says that white privilege doesn't exist.
I think the idea of white privilege is absolutely reprehensible.
That women in gender studies courses should be defunded.
Why the hell are we subsidizing revolution? It's crazy, and it's dangerous.
And that it's better for trans people if we don't use the pronouns that they prefer.
I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest, and that's that.
So 30,000, 100 soldiers, all my niggas go so crazy.
His name is Jordan Peterson, and his influence is gaining rapidly. His latest book was at the top of the Amazon bestseller list, and his YouTube channel has 700,000 subscribers. But according to him and conservative writers across the country, no one knows what he stands for.
What a fucking lazy argument. If nobody knew what Jordan stood for, why would he have such a boom in popularity, you stupid twat?
Okay, so what does Jordan Peterson believe? For that, let's take a look at his new book called 12 Rules for Life.
I'm so gonna get that book.
The book lays out simple rules for personal accountability. Stand up straight, tell the truth, be precise in your speech.
It's easy to see that you have an aversion to telling the truth. Isn't that right, Jack?
It's pretty basic self-help stuff, a lot of which is about how to get girls. Sexist! But then, underneath all that, are his politics. Peterson, who's usually pretty lucid, believes in a paranoid conspiracy popular on the far right. He believes our cultural institutions are run by a cabal of radical Marxists who want to destroy Western civilization. This fictional conspiracy used to be called cultural Marxism.
And this is true. I may do a video one day about how cultural Marxism is destroying the West.
Peterson calls it postmodernism.
Yeah, postmodernism can suck my dick.
Take Peterson's belief about women in gender studies departments at universities. Those departments don't really want women's equality in our society and in the workplace. No. They want to destroy the Western world intentionally as part of a Marxist revenge plot.
They produce political activists, and their goal is to restructure the patriarchy. Well, what's the patriarchy? Well, the patriarchy is Western civilization.
He is speaking the truth, Jack.
And what does restructure mean? That's easy. It means tear it down and destroy it.
Gender relations are declining, the family unit is under siege. Cultural Marxism has done a lot of damage, and these gender courses are bad for women. They end up with a very horrible outlook on life, and they start believing in this phantom patriarchy. This patriarchy does not exist. Cultural Marxism. Not even once.
In Professor Peterson's world, the hierarchies that have put men at the top are important. They come from nature, and they're not to be disturbed. One thing he's obsessed with, for example, is lobsters. As in, lobsters have gender hierarchy, and you wouldn't say that lobsters oppress their women, would you?
So what you're saying, Jordan, is humans are lobsters?
That's one of the things that made him so popular among,
Aw, look, another soy boy.
young right-wing reactionaries, is that he's advocating for these really fixed ideas of gender that line up with their anxieties about masculinity.
Yeah, he's kind of like that father figure that some men never had.
The far right loves Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, just in case you haven't smeared Jordan's character enough.
But Peterson doesn't want alienated young men to become radical fringe right-wingers. In fact, he sees himself as a path away from all that.
Many people write me from the right or from the fringes of the radical right, saying precisely that listening to my lectures stopped them from going all the way.
You know, the more this video goes on, the better Jordan looks. His lectures have stopped disgruntled young men from falling into the pitfalls of the far right. You should be commending him for this, Jack.
Ultimately, Peterson tells young men that if someone else has a problem with your place in the hierarchy, they're either conspiring to destroy Western civilization, or they're just whining.
I'd be very surprised if Jordan ever said that in those words. So I'm skeptical. I'm going to call bullshit on that, Jack. However, if any viewers can, point me to a clip where Jordan said this, then I'll be grateful.
He's basically saying that there are those of us who have high IQs or who are very physically strong or whatever, naturally should have access to greater resources, to more control over our communities. He questions the idea that we should live in an egalitarian society.
As the demand for egalitarianism and the eradication of masculinity accelerates, there's going to be a longing in the unconscious for the precise opposite of that, right? The more you scream for equality, the more your unconscious is going to admire dominance.
Jack's beta orbiter friend here has heard pretty much what he wanted to hear from Jordan in this instance. What Jordan is saying here is how things actually are, and not necessarily how he wants them to be.
Peterson takes the old individualism of conservatives,
Sounds like Jack doesn't like individual agency. Imagine my shock.
and makes it attractive to young people by sympathizing with them over how unfair modern social justice seems.
You know, as far as smear campaigns go, he's doing a pretty bad job at this. He's not making Jordan look bad at all. In fact, everything Jordan said so far, more or less, is pretty bang on.
Peterson promises a new path for young men, one that says, all that social justice stuff, that's a plot to destroy what's rightfully yours.
Actually, it's the social justice mindset that tells people that something is rightfully theirs. As long as they're not straight white men, of course.
Don't let anybody get you down. You've got this. And every man for himself.
If Wile E. Coyote ever worked for the media, then this is the sort of journalism that he would produce. This hit piece has backfired spectacularly and is only going to make Jordan B. Peterson stronger. Anyway, I'm off to find out what a few others have got to say about this hit piece, so thank you for watching, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.